Dear President, how are you there?
Mr. Prime Minister.
I want to say right away that a couple of days ago, our security service of Ukraine provided us some videos of how representatives of your shore party are handing money to the protesters in a tent city in Chisinau for participating in this action. So, and we are ready to provide it to you for next publications in media. And I hope this will stop the protests in Chisinau and will discrediting protesters. So I can do it through our embassy, from our ambassador.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it looks that the oligarch and the criminal who was implementing the banking sector fraud now got the Russia's support, and he's calling himself a pro-Russian opposition politician, and this is confirmed by Moscow, which also calls him a pro-Russian opposition politician. And we believe that he has been paying people to organize these protests just to show to everyone that he can destabilize the country, and this is the objective. Our prosecution has been working on several cases because there are many cases in the court and in the prosecution about the banking sector fraud and other corruption cases he's involved, but also on the funding of this protest. We are not, the protests are normal in a democracy, but when the protests are being paid, these are not authentic protests. So if you have any information that can help our prosecution, of course, we'll be very grateful.
Oh, I mean, it's very important to show how it works. So this protest is created by oligarchs, pro-Russian oligarchs. So it's important to show it in the media. And how is the situation in Transnistria now?
Well, we don't see much in terms of movements there. So the big question now to us is energy. And I'm very grateful that we received an information today from your colleagues that we'll be able to buy electricity from Ukraine for the next 15 days, because our stability actually depends on the energy situation. And, we have a contract with Gazprom, but we don't know whether they will continue to supply based on the contract starting with tomorrow, because from tomorrow we have to switch for a smaller price. So it's a different formula, and we should pay a much smaller price because buying on the market on TTF is extremely expensive for us. But we don't know, because we heard all kind of information that Russia might suspend gas supply, and then this is going to have an implication on the right bank, because this means gas but also means electricity. We continue to buy a big share of electricity in Transnistria, but also has implications for Transnistria, because then if we don't get gas, they will also not get gas. We made it very clear to Gazprom that there is no way that they disconnect the right bank of Dnistru and the left bank continue to get gas. So that's going to have one implication, and then the fact that they will not be able to produce electricity is another implication. And of course, if we get into this situation, we will buy on the market, even if this is going to be extremely expensive for us, and we're not sure how long we can buy on the market. But then the question is for Transnistria, if we buy, because we know that they haven't been paying so far, so we'll not be able to buy gas if Transnistria doesn't pay, and we suspect it will not be able to pay. So if the energy situation deteriorates as a result of Russia disconnecting us in the next few days from gas supply, then the economic situation in Transnistria is going to deteriorate, and we can also expect the security situation to destabilize.
Because Russian Defense Ministry plans to involve not only contract soldiers, but also conscripts in the peacekeeping mission in Transnistria. They adopted a special law, so they have developed such a law. taking into account the alarming situation in Transnistria, there is a serious fear that Moscow will try to destabilize the situation in Transnistria. So,
yes.
So we are afraid that Russia may annex Transnistria and hold another fake referendum there, and then connect it with Odessa. So this is terrible.
We understand the risk, and we understand that as long as you keep Russians far from our borders, this risk is not that big. But then, of course, we very much hope that you manage to advance. On the participation of the Moldovans, we announced it very clearly that those Moldovan citizens who will fight on the part of the aggressor, on the part of Russia, will lose their citizenship. Those who have the double citizenship, because we have Moldovans who have also the Russian citizenship. So we made it very clear, and we're making changes to the law, which would allow us just to take the Moldovan citizenship from them. And by that, we're trying to discourage people from enrolling into the army. And second, for the Moldovan citizens, in this case, we cannot withdraw the citizenship, those who do not have the Russian citizenship. We are making the penalties, the sanctions, much tougher than what was before in the law. So we believe that this is going to prevent people from Transnistria, those who have the Moldovan citizenship and Russian citizenship, from enrolling, because they understand that if they lose the citizenship, then they're not going to be able to travel to the right bank, and it's going to be much more difficult for them to hide.
But don't you think that it's time to have a mobilization inside Moldova in case if something...
Well, we are working on strengthening our defense sector. We are working very closely with Romanians on training our people, and we have been requesting some support from our partners. So yes, we are working on strengthening our defense sector as much as we can. Of course, we want everyone to help you, first of all, when it comes to help with weapons and trainings and anything you need. But in addition, we are also trying to get a little bit of help and to strengthen our defense capacity.
No, I mean, if Russia will go far, so it is important for you to remove the Russian military from Transnistria. I think now it's a very danger factor, and generally close this issue with Transnistria as a manifestation of separatism, crime and Russian influence in the region. And it is important for us to remove the hot spot near the border of Ukraine, of course.
We understand, and we always wanted, to solve this conflict, and we always spoke about the risks it presents to us and to you as well.
But in addition, ammunition stocks at artillery depots in the Transnistrian town Kolbasnya, as I seen, so it would be very useful at the moment for our military.
I understand it, but again, we don't have access to this. There is going to be military action if we try to get to this deposit.
No, I mean, if necessary, if there is an escalation to carry out joint preparation for the operation of Moldova and Ukraine to deoccupy Transnistria by Russia.
So, as I said, I really hope that there is going to be an opportunity to solve the conflict once you win the war, and then we could solve peacefully the other problems. We are, in the meantime, we're trying to help as much as we can with transportation, with this, with your experts. Of course, we're not a big country. We cannot provide a lot of capacities, but we are willing to help as much as we can. And we have, that we have discussed when I was in Kiev, the issue of Giurgiulești, and we have made an offer. Your people came and looked at the territory that we are ready to give you, while we still try to solve the legal issues with the port in general, but we can offer you some land for you to use in the next few years. But we haven't got an answer after the technical people came and saw it. So I was wondering whether you're still interested or you have found other solutions.
How is your situation with the EU? What about your application?
Well, of course, we have some conditions to meet. Most of them are on fighting corruption, on getting rid of the oligarchs' influences. And even though the oligarchs are now out of the country, they still have money, and as you see, they still try to destabilize the country. So we are trying to move on with the reforming justice and strengthening the anti-corruption institutions, while at the same time trying to keep stability in the country, because with this huge energy crisis that we have, the prices have been going up 10 times for gas, and I'm afraid they will continue to grow because of what's happening on the market. So on one hand, we're trying to manage and to keep the situation under control. On the other hand, of course, we're trying to move on with the reforms. And then we'll see already next year when the evaluation will happen, what the EU will say and what are the next steps. And
I know that you would recently, I heard that you really want to review neutral status of Moldova. Is that right?
What do you mean?
Neutral status, unblocked status. So.
No, I mean, this is not something that happens by my decision, because it's in the Constitution. So what we said is that we believe that our neutrality is not enough to defend us, because the neutrality is just an instrument of external policy, and it helps as long as other countries respect our neutrality. But looking at what happens to you, what happens to Ukraine, of course, we cannot think that neutrality is going to stop Russia. If it decides to attack us, then it doesn't matter what's written in our constitution. So we are talking about this because we need to get more popular support to invest in our defense sector, because unfortunately the propaganda over the years has been creating here an impression, a perception of the people that we should not invest in the army because that goes against our neutrality. But this is not true. As the Constitution says that we have neutrality, the Constitution says that we should have an army. And if we have an army, it has to be equipped and developed and so on. So we actually need to change people's perceptions, because because of so much propaganda, they think that the moment we start investing in our army, then we are attracting the war. And we're trying to tell them that we have to be prepared, especially looking at what happens in Ukraine and how Russia behaves. So that was part of the narrative, that we need to make people understand why we need to invest more in the army.
So that's why I'm asking you, are you ready to make a mobilization in Moldova in case of...
Of course, we have to be prepared for that. First of all, if the Russians come close to Odessa, we will have to be ready to receive the population of Odessa, which is just 70 kilometers from our crossing point. And that's going to be the first challenge for us, to be able to receive all these people. It's an important number. And then, of course, we'll have to defend as much as we can, given the resources that we have. So, yes, we know that unfortunately there is such a risk for us, despite the fact that we have a small army. We will have to use it to defend our territory.
So, but you should be ready to make a mobilization inside the country. So,
yes, I mean, if this happens, then of course we'll make the mobilization.
Yes, and I mean, some Romanian friends should help us. So we have to...
We will talk to them. I would like to apologize on behalf of my colleagues, because I understand that yesterday there was a discussion and some of them were very emotional because we're kind of in a crisis situation, because we don't know whether we're going to have electricity and gas tomorrow. But this is not a justification to behave emotionally, especially in such a difficult situation. So I like to apologize on their behalf and say that we appreciate very much that you continue to help us with electricity, no matter how.
But what are you talking about? Emotional moments.
I I know that my Minister of Energy yesterday talked to your Minister of Energy, and I heard that he was too emotional there, so that's why I would like to express my apologies.
Yeah, it's okay. You know that the situation is hard here too. What do you think about damage on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline?
Well, I think these are desperate attempts to just make it more complicated for all of us, and to have these high costs in the EU countries, and to have, you know, people protesting and asking to get to a peace agreement and so on. So, you know, this is just using the democracy, our own democracy, against ourselves. These are the attempts, trying to make the gas prices and the electricity prices even higher than what they are, and just to have protests not just in Chisinau but in most of the countries. I think this is the objective of Russia.
You know, because the American partners believe that we should help put pressure on Moscow because of this pipeline. Now the situation with the undermining of the branches of the Nord Stream is very relevant. We need to be prepared for different scenarios. Through our special services, we must prepare for possible explosions of gas pipelines in our country too. So
yes, so we have considered this after he announced after Putin announced this partial mobilization. We did discuss again at the Security Council, including the issue that you're saying that even if they don't interrupt gas supply, something might go wrong with the pipes on your territory, and then we have to be prepared to supply some minimum energy to our people. So unfortunately, all the options are open, and we can expect more bad things happening in the next few months.
How our American friends help in this situation, or as they just say?
They are doing what they can. I mean, they're trying to help us, but their help is going to show results long term. I mean, they're trying to help us invest in some energy, in green energy and stuff like that. But this is going to bring results in a few years. But for now, of course, we talk to them. They also share some information with us. So we count on them. We count on them on fighting the oligarchs who left the Moldova. So hopefully at some point they'll help us bring back to justice, because these guys are now, they made a team with the pro-Russian political forces in Moldova.
Our Secret Service is in touch with you, so we hope that we will make some anti-Russian operations soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. All the best, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you, thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini.